First, let's start with 3 Oms and 3 Gayatri mantras, please. Om. Om. Om.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsaviturenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsaviturenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsaviturenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Saram, brothers and sisters, we have a wonderful program this evening. We have 2 special guests. Brother Sai Prasad in Mudanalli is going to give us an update on the hospital. And then Sister Dr. Hiramalini Seshadri will be the keynote speaker and guest for our, guest for this evening. So let me give a little background on Sister Hiramalini Seshadri. She started her spiritual journey from Puttaparthi with Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. She is near and dear to Sadguru Madhusudan Sai and is currently a resident at the MDH Ashram, continuing to serve in Swami's hospital mission and medical college. She was a brilliant student in college and had a number of medals to her career. She's a prolific author with numerous books and articles. In addition to that, she's a singer of Sai Kritis that come to her as downloads by Bhagawan Baba's grace. Listening to Dr. Seshadri's experiences and journey is truly about love, devotion, and above all, God's grace. My wife Nandini and I had the distinct pleasure of interacting with Sister Hiramalini in Mudanalli Ashram and found her to be really a delightful conversationalist who is devoted to serving in Swami's medical mission. So without further ado, I'm going to start with Brother Sai Prasad giving us an update, and after that, we'll be listening to Sister Hiramalini Seshadri. Go ahead, Sai Prasad.
Sairam to everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. Regarding the hospital, we are talking about the Madhusudan Sai Institute of Medical Sciences and Research. As you all know, we have Block 1, 2, and 3. And Block 1 is really Rajeshwari, the Sarla Memorial Block, excuse me. And that is a 65,000 square feet block. And then we have Rajeshwari Block, which is the approximately 230,000 square feet of the block, which was inaugurated, as you know, by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. And and then we have the third block, which is the what we affectionately call the capital block, which was the groundbreaking was done by Amit Shah ji last year, the Honorable Home Minister. And during March 25th, Swami had Sadhguru had told that the inauguration will be March 23rd, 2025. So that is also in construction. So with respect to Rajeshwari, which is where I'm going to specifically talk very, very briefly, as you probably know, during the March 25th, that's when the floors 1 and 2 were actually completed, which was in line with what the NMC, that is the National Medical Commission, was a requirement, and so that was completed. Now the finishing works are for the 3rd and the 4th floor. That's where you have the dome. That is still that's under progress, and that it's actually it's the finishing stages are happening, and it will accommodate about 3 departments. And it will also have a library. It will have 2 museums and 2 additional lecture halls. As you know, there is one lecture hall which is actually gainfully used. As you know, it is nicely called the Ataisha hall, which is on the first floor. I would like to tell fondly that on August 19th we had a very beautiful session where we had about 40 CFOs from across Bangalore who had converged to have an interactive session with Sadhguru, and it was very nicely, beautifully used, a very nice lecture gallery, and it was like a 2-hour session where everybody who came, they were extremely impressed by what they saw in the Rajeshwari block and also all other the overall campus as well as the Sarla block and so on. So it is a very not only is the hospital very vibrant and being used, the ground floor is being used. That is the first floor or whatever you want to call it, is used in the as outpatient, and then you have the on the top you have the inpatients as well as the Ataisha hall. So in addition, you have the third and fourth where you have 2 more lecture halls that are coming up. There's also a pantry and a dining area that's going to come up. So that's really in terms of the third and the fourth floor of Rajeshwari, where it's accommodating 3 departments: library, 2 museums, 2 additional lecture halls, pantry and dining hall with dining area. And that's with that will the civil works and everything will be totally completed by that time, so that we are actually in readiness with the next NMC inspection, which is expected any time during October. So that's where I mean, usually what they do is they either give you some notice, or they generally come in as any other plain clothesman, if you will, and they'll just come in, and then and then they will, once they finish their inspection, they will reveal themselves and say, we are the NMC inspection committee, and we are here to. That's when we kind of bring them into a hall and we have a discussion. So October will be the next inspection standpoint. And finally, regarding the actual students, the that this the academic year will be starting September, and the all of these the students who are to be taken are to be passing the exam, the NEET exam, as all it's the mandatory public exam that's needs to be passed, and after that there's a counseling that happens. So the student counseling is happening for the MBBS, which is the degree, the medicine course, the MBBS, and even the DNB, which is the nursing, and that is being conducted by the Karnataka Examination Authority, the KEA. So there's a first round and the second round. The second round of the counseling is beginning, and the tentative joining of the students will be sometime around mid-September or so. So that's really what we are having. So by the end of this month, we will be having most of pretty much logged in with most of the students in terms of the based on the counseling and things like that. That should also be done. So really, one, the civil works, the number one. The second is the preparation for the next toll gate of the NMC inspection, and third, which is the most exciting part, the actual beneficiary, the students are going to be coming in starting later in the next few weeks and beyond, but certainly this month in September. That's really the major updates. And of course, for if I may say, put in a financial word for it, of course, there is definitely a lot of vendor requirements, vendor payment requirements, and all those things. So any kind of participation, anybody who's interested, any of the forthcoming interested people, there is definitely a requirement for the Rajeshwari. So that is also definitely welcome. So that's really what I have at this time. Amadanji, Vivekji, and Mehranji. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for this update, Sai Prasad. Thank you so much. Well, to get this wonderful satsang started with Dr. Hiramalini, I'm going to request Brother Mehran to start with a question, and that will kick things off. So go ahead, Brother Mehran.
Thank you. Dr. Seshadri, first of all, I would like to thank you. This means a lot to all of us that you've taken time to be with us and share with us. And I think I could probably have a million questions, but there is one question that I would like to start with. And so back in when the first block, Sarla Memorial Hospital started, I had the impression that it just, the project started at that time and finished within 7-8 months. But I was really surprised to find that that was not the case, but the project has been told by Swami Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba long time ago. So I wanted to ask you, can you please elaborate on that?
Sairam, brothers and sisters, on the topic of the medical college, this is what I know from my personal experience. My husband, Dr. Seshadri, and I would go and do a monthly psychiatry clinic and rheumatology clinic at both the Whitefield and Prashanthi Nilayam General Hospitals. And usually the Whitefield clinic used to be on the first Saturday. So July 5th, 2003 was the first Saturday, and we landed up for our usual clinic. And we were very pleasantly surprised to hear that Swami had declared it to be Doctor's Day. And it was the first time that Swami, in his presence, was celebrating Doctor's Day. And, like how guests at a wedding get to also eat the good food, and not just the bride and groom. Besides the main doctors being honored were the ones who operated on him, Dr. Sundaresh and Dr. Hemant. All of us also, got Swami's attention and time. And we lady doctors were especially lucky because he called us into Trai Vrindavan and gave us saris. At that time, I had two very, great desires in my heart, and I used that opportunity to put those forth. One was that we needed a medical college with the MBBS, because Swami was already giving free postgraduate training, but I wanted him to start a medical college because there was this need to spiritualize medicine. And the second thing was a request from all my registrars and residents. So you see, at that time, just a year or two earlier, Swami had released a book that he made me and my husband write. It was called The Science of Medicine. And that had created quite a buzz among, in the medical circle, particularly junior doctors. And they had taken it to the professors in Chennai and said, see, there's so much in spirituality, there's healings beyond our understanding. And the professors had said, where are the references? And that being an ordinary book, it didn't have too many references. So they dismissed it. And the junior doctors came to me and said, ma'am, we have to have a proper reference book on spirituality and medicine. So that was something I wanted to put forth to Swami. And so when I spoke about these two things to him, he said, yes, very enthusiastically. He said, yes, we must do it. And I said, Swami, the reference book you have to write, I'll only be your pen. And he said, yes. And then he stared into space, like sometimes he used to do that. And then he said, but wait. So we waited. In 2017, by then Swami had left the body and he was like Sukshma Sathya Sai and communicating through revered brother Madhusudan. At that time I was in Singapore and he says, now start writing. And that book happened. The first version was released in Chhattisgarh in a Raipur Sanjeevani Hospital. And finally, the final avatar has got 12 chapters, and the last chapter is all about the medical college. It's available on Amazon, and at least I hope all of you get to read that chapter on the medical college. Actually, we wanted to make the book free because when you give free healthcare and free medical education, why would you charge for a book? But Amazon insists on some price, so it costs 99 cents. Oh. Okay. So please, all of you don't have to read the whole tome, but it's all Swami's work. But at least what's interesting from the contents page, you can pick up and read. And regarding the medical college, so this was 2003. In 2019, I had come here from Singapore and I heard something that there might be a medical college, But then all the elders said, no, 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 it will not happen because Swami will never allow co-education. So it won't happen. But I went back and I sent a desperate mail. I said, Swami, please start this medical college. And I said, there are ways of getting around all that. And, I poured my heart out, so to speak. This was on the 10th of October, 2019. I got that mail out. And the same day, Bhagawan sent a reply, of course, through Sadhguru. That it's his mail ID. And he said, Tathastu. And that's happening now, 2023. So, Swami always says, it's all action replay. You see, so it's all happening as per his will, as per his sankalpa. So that's it about the medical college. And we're all part of it. Small little cogs in the wheel. Okay. And as I said, we don't plan anything anymore. It's all already planned. You just go with the flow.
That's correct. Thank you, Seshadri. It's every time we've had communication, there is the ending words are always the same, which is His grace, His love, He's the doer. And to me, that reflects you, basically, your love for Swami. And also, from what I understand, I see a very close relationship with Bhagawan, like a family. So I wanted to ask you, how did your journey start many years ago from Puttaparthi, or where was the starting point, and how did that get started?
Before I start, I pray with all my heart to Sadgurudeva that he should speak through me. Because when I moved into Sathya Sai Grama, into the ashram about 2.5 years ago, I too was put on the spiritual journey, the Paravidya journey, and Sadhguru has an individualized prescription for each one. It's not one size fits all, okay? And for me, it was like from a high visibility, high profile, whatever role in the drama, to one of continuing in relatively quiet obscurity and anonymity. Of course, continuing with the work of treating patients and writing and music, but all absolutely quietly. And I was just about getting used to it, and some glimmer of understanding that the real me is not Hiramalini. I'm not Hiramalini. Okay, and so what are we? Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. Just sort of getting used to that quiet anonymity, when their Swami now throws me back into the deep end. And here I am, the center of the satsang, back in visibility. So I'm praying to Swami to speak through me. And I'm not used to speaking in the third person, like some people say, this body, mind. Anyway, this name form, all I know is I'm not Hiramalini, but I will try and relate her story. I had rather unusual parents. My father belonged to the second batch of civil service officers of Free India. And he came from a very orthodox Tamil Brahmin family. And he broke with tradition to marry my mother, who was not a Tamilian, who was from a different state, different language, different culture. She was from Kerala and was a lawyer and first graduate from her family. And her father was a Gandhian, so shared a lot in common with my father. And so their marriage in the early mid-50s was like a revolution in the small state of Kerala. And I arrived as their first child. And in 1959-60, Swami made his first visit to Kerala. He was coming as the guest of the governor, Burgala Ramakrishna Rao. My father happened to be the collector of the district of Kollam, through which Swami would enter the state. So since the governor was coming, my father was there in attendance. And Swami and my father and mother, both of them were like, what Sadhguru says, do good, be good, see good. They epitomize that. We're totally selfless and totally fearless. Maybe that's what drew Swami to them. And so Swami and my father got on like a house on fire. Swami was, I think, about 33, and my father must have been around 31. And Swami, of course, went to the Raj Bhavan, but then he accepted my father's invitation and he came to Kollam, came home apparently. I was only 2 years and a bit, so I don't remember anything. He had breakfast at home. He spent a whole day with my parents. And I always remember my mother telling me that my little sister, who's now in the USA, Vinodini, she was about 10 months old and she was in and out of Swami's lap. Whereas this Hiramalini was sleeping, toddler of 2 years and a bit. Then Swami said, Malini aenge, and they brought the sleeping child. And apparently, maybe I needed that blessing. Swami materialized a lot of vibhuti and chanted some benediction in Sanskrita and blessed the child, the sleeping child. And my mother always used to say that, it is probably his blessings, and I'm sure it is his blessings. That for some, it was amazing that whatever this child did, be it academics, be it writing, be it speaking, debating, singing, painting, name it, she just excelled. Okay, and topped in every way. And at age 16, Hiramalini was catapulted into the Christian Medical College, Vellore, as a medical student. Now, at this point in time, that is when I was my first, tryst with unhappiness, because I was terribly, terribly, terribly homesick. Somehow, somebody had given me a picture of Bhagawan Sathya Sai Baba, and that picture became my friend, confidant, mentor, everything. And I was a bit of a misfit in the Christian Medical College, which was a very westernized kind of place. But Swami somehow connected me to a samiti, and where they had bhajans. And because I could sing, it was wonderful for me there. Then I started going for medical camps organized by the organization. And in 1974, with these villagers, I made my first trip to Puttaparthi. And Kulwant Hall had just been built, and there were no crowds. And I remember Swami taught a few of us one bhajan, and that was wonderful. And he also did a little miracle for me. For lack of time, I won't go into the details. So when I came back, I was sure that I had seen God, but I wanted confirmation, you see. And I thought, what better? I better ask him straight. So, and again, I made another trip. This time I went to Bangalore, to Whitefield. Must have been around 18 then. And I sat in darshan line. And when Swami came near, I said, Swami. He spun around. I said, Swami, are you really God? And I asked it twice because I wanted to make sure that he heard me right, you see. And the Sevadals were horrified, as you can imagine. And but Swami looked at me straight in the eye and he spoke to me for 3 minutes, 3 whole minutes. But it was all in Telugu and I didn't understand a word. Anyway, that was somebody said, he's building a hospital. That was the general hospital he was building. So I remember going to the site and I remember thinking, maybe I should work here when I pass out. But then that thought went out of my mind. Anyway, when I went back to the college, in our library, I found a book called Sathya Sai Baba. And I was so happy and I pulled it out. But then it turned out to be a very, very scary negative book. And I was so frightened that I put Swami out of my life. That's what happened. But then I was one of those, this Hiramalini was one of those born with that blind, total faith in God. So devotion to God continued. And it's all his grace. I had so many experiences with Durga Ma, Lord Narasimha, Ganesha, Muruga, Guru Vairappan, with all the forms. Those were wonderful years too. And life happened. Finished medicine, got married. We went to the UK for a while. That's when I got into rheumatology. And 2 children. We came back. And then the greatest tragedy in my life happened because my dear mother suddenly passed away in 1991. And then my question to God was, where's my mother? Wherever, is she all right? So I started rereading all the books about Swami. And one day, in great anguish, I was singing to, I had a little vigraha of Shirdi Baba, and I was asking for some sign. And when I finished singing, there was this white powder on Shirdi Baba. And I instinctively just took some, put it in my mouth. That was Vibhuti. From my Vellore days, I knew what Vibhuti was. But I was too scared and shy to tell anyone. What if they laughed at me? Then Swami did something wonderful. He hooked both me and Seshadri together. Okay, we came to visit a house where all kinds of miracles happened, materializations happened, and I was quite taken up, but not Seshadri. He was wondering, I didn't see it come. And Swami made all this happen in our own house. So then he had to believe, right? And Swami came in his dream, not in my dream, in his dream. And then we made our first visit to Whitefield, and Swami, when he looked at me, I thought he was looking into my soul, through a rose. Then we started seva, and I started trying to meditate at night, with not much success. It was mostly imagination. But then another time, maybe I'll tell you that story. And so things started, a lot of books happened. And most interestingly, it was music that started happening to this doctor. Okay, I used to sing, most South Indian girls learn music, and we used to sing a bit. But I found that if I looked at his picture and I'd be full of some stirrings in the heart, and then I would sing. And these were pristine Carnatic music compositions, far, far beyond my ken, you see. And I came to know a lady called Sulochana Pattabhiraman. She was one of India's greatest critics of Carnatic music, and was right for the Hindu and for the Shruti magazine. And when I used to sing these to her on the phone, and she'd be amazed because she knows my level of knowledge of music, you see. And she'd say, this is just grace, just grace. And the fact that it was Swami who was doing this was brought out so beautifully. Once he sent a varnam, which is a technical piece in Carnatic music, in a ragam called Abhogi, and I sang it to her on the phone. And she said, Doctor, this is very nice, but there are certain rules that the third Chittaswaram has to follow. And this doesn't quite conform to it. Now, I was totally ignorant of any rule or any canons of music. So as soon as I put the phone down, I looked at Swami's picture and said, Swami, the third Chittaswaram has to follow some rules. Now, this one doesn't. So it will not pass muster. That's Sulochana Mami. And the minute I said that, new swaras started running in my head. And I quickly wrote it down, learned it. And I called her again and said, now how does it sound? And she said, it's perfect, it's perfect. So you see, so through little instances like this, Swami would give away, like it was a giveaway, like from where was this music coming? And then he also arranged for in-house accompanying artists. Our son, he turned out to be a very good mridangist, schoolboy then. And our daughter, she's blessed with gyan of music. She's a doctor too. So she was also in school. So somebody to sing with me, somebody to play the mridangam, and a friend, a teacher, would play the violin. And Swami would arrange these concerts for us. We sang at almost every venue, big venue in Madras, including giving a lect gem at the Music Academy, which is the mecca of Carnatic music. And Hyderabad and Shivam, Bangalore, Mysore, even in Singapore. And this is all Swami's, musical leelas. The crowning glory was singing to him in Kulwant Hall. And that happened on the 8th of October, 1998. That is special because morning Gayatri Ma was installed. And evening, we were blessed to sing to him. My only regret used to be there was no photograph taken, you see. But almost 20 years later, I was just surfing the net and I found there was a video of it. See how Swami does things. And that music still continues, okay? Continues here as I stay with Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai. Even now the teaching continues. Early morning is when he will usually send the musical pieces. So much for what happened after I lost my mother. My father's passing on was in 1999. And my father was a very, very simple-hearted, like Bholanath. He was like that. And sometime in 1998, I was sitting with him at the dining table when the phone rang, and then he was quite excited, and he asked, Swami, ninga enge the pesarel? Where are you speaking from? Are you speaking from Puttaparthi, or are you in Chennai? And apparently Swami said, Na epome elladhillayum irukene. I'm there all the time, everywhere. And so I could hear their conversation. And somewhere along the line, Swami asked him, do you want to hit a century? And my father said, no. I've lived enough. Because you see, after my mother passed on, he had developed this virakti to life. And so from that day onwards till father's last days, we used to get these phone calls from Swami. It was amazing, you see. And when in his final illness, he was admitted with a pneumonia in our hospital, Apollo Hospital, in the ICU. I was also with him. And the nurse would come and say, Dr. Hiramalini, there's a phone call for you. One Sai Ram on the line. And it would be Swami. And, Swami told us when to discharge him. He was on a ventilator and seemed impossible. But then he recovered well enough and the doctors decided to send him home. And just as he wished, he passed on in his sleep. And funeral arrangements, my father, as you know his revolutionary background. He didn't want any priest. He didn't want any rituals. And we had no experience of funerals. Swami guided us exactly what to do at every step. And the 13th day, the Shubham, there was an organization called the IAS Sai Study Circle of Tamil Nadu. And my father used to be a senior member of it. So they conducted, in other words, Swami really did it, the 13th day festivities of Shubham. And after that, the phone rang again. And I was sitting with the children, so I picked up the phone. It was Swami. And I asked him, Swami, how's Appa? And he said, he's fine. Do you want to talk to him? I said, of course. And the children were with me. They were missing grandfather. So I put on the speakerphone. And then we could hear, Swami was saying something to my father. And then my father's voice, huh? Na nada irkene. And he laughed, which means, oh, I'm fine. And he was chuckling. And that was clearly father. But that was the last phone call. We never got any phone calls after that. And later on, you know how the monkey mind is? I used to wonder, did it really happen? Was it really Swami? Oh, can we really believe this? I was doubting it. By then, Bhagawan had released this book called The Science of Medicine, where I had mentioned this thing about phone Swami. And somewhere in Delhi, one Mr. Rastogi, who was a highly evolved person, he had bought this, he was a Sai devotee, he had bought this book or somebody had given it to him. And we just opened it, this page on phone Swami came. So he thought, what is this phone Swami? And then he started praying to Swami, and Swami apparently told him, oh, this is a new nickname that this Malini has given me. And a picture of Swami on the phone came floating down from the ceiling. And Rastogiji picked it up and put it in his altar and prayed, and some Amrit started coming from it. And because the book had our address, he wrote all this and sent it to us by post. Wow. So that is Swami, sort of told me, now stop your monkey mind. It was me, all right. And so all this is, far, far beyond the kind of science, beyond the kind of medicine. But this much I knew. When my mother passed on, I was devastated. When father passed on, I just knew that Swami was with him, taking care of him, doing everything. And the next incident was when Swami left the body. Of course, in between, a lot of things were happening because it was what shall I say? At home, we experienced Swami in the subtle materializations and we knew he was around. And every month when we went for seva, we would experience Swami in the physical.
Oh.
You see? It was an amazing thing. Was life all a bed of roses? No, no. We had our problems, all right. But then we knew Swami was with us, so that just made it, made everything simply wonderful. Problems or no problems. And then 2011 came along. For some reason, our Whitefield clinic that day, it is all prefix the previous month, you see, because patients have to know. So our Whitefield clinic was on the 25th Monday of that April, and Puttaparthi clinic was on 26th. Swami left the body on the 24th, as we all know. And everyone was upset, but in our friend's house where he used to manifest, Swami was busy manifesting sweets to everyone who came to condole. For some reason, my husband and son, they left on the 24th for Bangalore. So I had to travel alone by train, and I got tickets only for the Shatabdi. The Shatabdi doesn't stop at Krishnarajapuram, where we usually get off to go to the hospital. So I'd have to go to Bangalore and come back. Cabs are so expensive, and what a waste of time. And so I prayed to Swami. I said, Swami, please stop this train at Krishnarajapuram. Swami, you have to stop the train at Krishnarajapuram. And you won't believe it, the Shatabdi stopped at Krishnarajapuram. And I came out. Now, normally I just follow my husband. That day I was alone. So when I came out, I found that there's 4 or 5 roads outside, and I didn't know which one to take. Suddenly an auto rickshaw comes, and he says, Doctor, going to Whitefield Hospital? I said, yes, hop in. Yeah, I was in Whitefield. And I was so thrilled because Swami had stopped the train, he had got me a lift. But when I went there, it was all gloom because, Swami had left the body the previous day. And I said, no, Swami is very much around. Then they all cheered up a bit. And then we drove to Puttaparthi. Now, usually we would call them and tell them we're on our way, and they would leave a key at the gate. That day, I don't think we could have gotten through on the phone to Puttaparthi at all because it was pandemonium there. And we could not drive to Puttaparthi. The police directed us to some nearby village where we had to park in a field. And we walked with a sea of humanity. We trudged to Prashanthi. So we must have reached well after midnight. We're tired, exhausted, hungry, thirsty, famished, and what to do for the night. But when we reached the gate, somebody called out, Doctor, your room key. You see? And then there was another seva there. Here's water, here's coffee, here's food. It was so surreal. And when we went, there was Swami lying in state, so to speak. And we just couldn't believe it. Anyway, we went to the room early morning again. We came down. And I told my husband, see, we've come here for seva. Let's go to the hospital. So anyway, 7:30, we marched to hospital. Hospital was empty, but seething with policemen. No patients in sight. But there was one patient, Dr. Seshadri's patient, waiting for him. And my husband always took medicines for all his patients. Because psychiatric patients, even if you prescribe, they won't have the money to buy the medicines. So anyway, so this patient, he saw him, gave him the medicine. And then out of curiosity, he asked him, how come you came and how come, you decided to wait for us and there's no OP? And then in Telugu, he replied, Ada Swami ochinaru. Aina cheptanu, nee intiki podu, wait cheyala, tappaga nee doctor ostaru. Mande teesko, and tarvata intiki povala. So Swamis appeared to him and told him, apparently, you wait, you don't go home now. Your doctor will definitely come and bring your medicines. You collect all that, then you go home. So there you are. Then when we came back, all the others said, you must wait because Wednesday, is the burial. I said, no. I mean, our Swami is alive. Our Swami is very much alive. Where's the question of burying him? So we just went back to Chennai. And at Chennai, Swami was very much there to greet us. And so life continued. I had heard that of Mudanhalli in 2011-12, Swami was there, but it was nothing new because we felt Swami was in Chennai, you see, because he was manifesting there too. But I did come here, I think it was 2012. And what struck me, and I was really happy to hear about, was that the mission was continuing. And they were just thinking of starting work on a third school. And I remember Ravi Kasturi was there and Shivu brother was there. And I remember singing some bhajans and Anandam to my heart's content. And then they told me a nice incident of how, one school suddenly became two and now a third one. So the youngsters, helping Narasimhamurthy sir at that point in time, they were a bit jittery. So Narasimhamurthy sir told them, see, you have a choice. If you trust me, if you believe me, you be part of this work. I have no choice because I can see Swami and he's asking me to do this work. And anyway, all the youngsters somehow told him, sir, please tell Swami, we'll do one school at a time. One school at a time. So picking up great courage, slowly he asked Swami, can we do one school at a time? And apparently Swami said, who's doing all the work? He said, of course, you're doing the work, Swami. And then Swami says, then what's your problem? Then it was 3 schools and 4 schools, and you know the history of it. In 2015, one of my patients, by then Swami had started traveling the world. One of my patients from Dubai met Swami during his travels. It was Brother Madhusudan communicating. And because she was not sitting on the floor, Swami asked her, what's the trouble? And she said, oh, I have my knee problem. And then he asked, who's your doctor? And she said, Hiramalini. And then Swami said, oh, Hiramalini, she's an old devotee. Go back to her. Her diagnosis is correct. Her treatment is good. You go back to her and I will also talk to her. And she sent me this email. And that really shook me. I said, I have to go and see what is this? So that's how in 2015 I landed here. And after the bhajans were held in Premdeep those days, after the bhajan and after the arti, just called me like that. And at that time, I was sure that this was Bhagawan Sathya Sai Baba. That was what I perceived. He gave me 2 books, Uvacha, 2 books had come out by then. He said, go home, finish your work and come back. And then Swami from inside, write a book, write a book, write a book. And all the chapters, everything, I could see in my mind's eye. And when I came back the next month, because every month we were going to Puttaparthi anyway, for Seva, I had just on some rough paper scribbled down the chapters and all that. And when Swami wants things done, he gets it done. So he saw me stop the car and took it and he said, this book has to be written, it will be written. And that's how the Sukshma Sathya Sai, that 2-part book came into being. And then he pulled all of us in here. And then he sent us to Singapore. Now, that ostensibly for Divya to take up a job there. Now, Divya was somebody who never wanted to leave India at all. And so she never accepted any offers. But when the Singapore offer came, she found that there was a Sathya Sai kindergarten there. And her little one was just turning 2. That's the only place on the planet with a Sathya Sai kindergarten. So that was the attraction. So I asked Swami, there is an offer like this. What should we do? He said, I have arranged it. Of course, she must take it. And you must also go. And you have to write a book about my Singapore devotees. That's how he sent us to Singapore. He arranged everything. Because we knew no one there. Even finding a flat to stay in, everything was done by him. Then after a couple of years, when I was in Singapore, I used to visit the ashram quite often. And that's when I could transition from Sathya Sai to Sukshma Sathya Sai. And 2019, it became Sadguru Madhusudan Sai. And Swami had, as he says, he had given the controls to Sadguru, so he could manifest as Sathya Sai, could manifest as Sadguru Madhusudan Sai. And the books, the music, everything made that transition. The first book was called God in Our Midst, the one that Swami got me to write in Puttaparthi. And that was a little book, but very popular. But when Swami left the body, the book also left the shelves. it became out of print. And I got this email from an unknown person saying, can I reprint it because this book needs to be there? I said, sure. And I said, sir, can I update it? Because, Swami is continuing his mission even after leaving the body. And he said, all right. He was a young man of 87, by the way, this gentleman. And he said, but doctor, you have to change the heading because now Swami is not with us anymore. So you cannot write God in our midst. Swami from within said, God ever in our midst. So it became God ever in our midst. And so that book transitioned. Likewise, the music book. The music book was printed the old way, not digitally. By the way, I didn't tell you that. When all this music was coming, I was singing, but I didn't know what I was singing, what ragam or etc. Swami sent 2 PhDs in music to do all the notation work. And when the book was ready, I told Sulochana Pattabhiraman, the great critic, I said, Mommy, you please write the foreword because you know this music. She said, no, this is Sai's music. For this book, Semmangudi Srinivas Iyer has to write the foreword. For those of you who may not know Carnatic music, Semmangudi is it's like saying Beethoven, that's his status.
Right.
I said, Semmangudi. She said, yes, you phone up, go and fix up an appointment to see him. He was 93 then. And you can't explain music, you have to sing it, right? So I thought, okay, I'll sing a Ganesha Kirtana, I'll sing a Varnam. And then there's a grand song in Shankara Bharanam about the deity of Trivandrum, Ananta Padmanabha Swami. And because Semmangudi had worked in Trivandrum, see my monkey mind, I thought maybe I should sing that, it might relate to him. But Swami from inside said, no, you sing Sarva Sukha Daini. That's a Kirtana, again in Shankara Bharanam, on the mother, Divine Mother. I was trying to argue with Swami. He said, no, you sing Sarva Sukha Daini. So that was it. So I went to Semmangudi's house. I sang the Varnam. He was impressed. Ganesha, he was quite happy. When I started singing Sarva Sukha Daini, tears were coursing down his cheeks. And he said, oh child, you're blessed by the Divine Mother. I have been worshipping her for 77 years. How did I know that? You see? And he said, I want to hear more. You come another day and sing. So we had a chamber music concert in his house. And he invited one guest. Guess who? MS Subbalakshmi.
Oh.
Can you imagine? You see? So there was Semmangudi and MS Subbalakshmi sitting and listening. And there's Hiramalini and Sri Rama son playing Mridangam, Divya singing with me, Bhagyalakshmi, and another schoolboy playing the ghatam. We sang for 1.5 hours and they both loved music. And the book finally has messages from these great legends of music. So this music is, I knew I was just a mic or something for it to come out. So it's called Sai Kritis. And the book had gone out of print. I had the last surviving 2 copies. And there was no way I could, write all the notation down again. So I said, Swami, if you don't do something, from which Nada Brahmam this music came, you'll go back into it. And then somebody, created a sort of a PDF of the whole thing. I'm tech challenged, I don't know. And it was uploaded at the website of a temple. So the book survived. And of course, music has been continuing to come. Swami has been continuing my music lessons continue. The latest is the Suprabhatam that he's been teaching. So all these new things have to be added, and hopefully the book will get ready whenever he wants it ready. And then what will happen to it? Whatever he decides. So everything is continuing. It's not just us, the work. Medical work, yes. The same rheumatology clinic, I do it once a week here at the hospital. It's a blessing. And so, as I said, in this world of duality, we still have to play this role, you see. And one thing that I found very relieving was this. Bhagawan in Puttaparthi always used to say, your heart should be like a single sofa. You should have only one form, right? I would fail miserably on that. Because I loved Shruti Baba, I loved the Sathya Sai form, I loved Ganesha, I loved, Shiva, so many forms. So my heart was never a single sofa, not even a double sofa. It was like musical chairs, you see. So when Sadhguru said that, go beyond form, that was like a big relief for me. So then I tried to imagine that love is the most important thing. Love is divinity. Recently, I had a doubt, Swami, is divinity the most important thing and love a derivative of that? Or is it love? I was confused. I was wondering, should I ask Swami? Promptly, there was a WhatsApp forward that I received from someone, and in which Bhagawan Baba in an interview says that love is everything. And he says, these are his words, that even divinity is a derivative of love. Is a reflection, that's the word, is a reflection of love. So that is the most important thing. And in 2019, the day Revered Brother Madhusudan was anointed as Sadhguru, I was in Singapore, and there's a 2.5-hour time difference. And at that time, Swami was making me write the most incredible Sathya Sai mission, that book. So because of the time difference, at 9 o'clock Singapore time, he was already telling me what is going. It was like a sneak preview of what was coming. And 11:30, when I tuned into what is happening here, Swami had already revealed all that. And after being anointed Sadhguru, he made a trip to Singapore, and we were blessed to have an audience. And this is what he said. He said, see, you're all very attached to the Sathya Sai form. That's like a thorn, actually. And he said, and then you got attached to the Sukshma Sathya Sai form. That's like another thorn. You use one thorn to remove the other thorn. But after you remove the first thorn, you don't stick the second one into your foot, right? You throw it away. So he says, you have to go beyond. And at that time, it was just words. It didn't make sense to me. But then came COVID. We were all set to fly back to India, and we were stuck in Singapore because of the lockdown. And Paravidya happened. The Master the Mind series and Kathopanishad. That really did it, So that's when I really began to understand something what Bhagawan is trying to teach. Because from 2017, Bhagawan used to tell me, you're divine, you're God. I would laugh. I would say, Swami, this is a joke. You are God, yes. Me, God? You must be joking. I used to talk like this. But after the Paravidya lessons, it started making sense. And now we just have to, we may not make it in this lifetime. It may take many, many lifetimes. He alone knows. But at least, this little boat has set sail, you see. So I know only this much now, that I'm not Hiramalini. What I really am, Aham Brahma, it's just still words, I can't say it, I've realized it. But then Swami used to say, you keep on chanting it, just like you can go from Bangalore to ashram in the same road. You can go from ashram to Bangalore on the same road. So the rishis, they had the realization and then they got the mantra. You start with the mantra, go on chanting, and you'll reach the realization. So one morning I was just chanting Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma, Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma. And I don't know from where, it came from inside, so it must be Swami and his sense of humor. I found myself saying, Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma, Baki Sab Sai Ki drama. What it means is, I'm Brahma and you're Brahma, and everything else is Sai's drama. You see? Aham Brahma, Sarvam Brahma, Baki Sab Sai Ki drama. So now, which is really true. This whole thing is his drama. We still have to play that role as well. And that one made it, he simplified it so beautifully. I said, like, Swami, how do we know whether we're playing our role right? How do we know? So he said, there are 3 things that you have to do. Thinking, thought, Speaking, word, actions, deed. That's right. Thought, word, deed. He says, whatever you think, you must fill with love. And Sadhguru has qualified the word love, selfless love. Whatever you speak, again, must be filled with love, selfless love. What do you do? Whatever you do, again, must be filled with love, selfless love. So that's it. So that's like the benchmark. So do I always do that? No. Fall flat on my face many a time. But then you get up and dust yourself and run again. You see? So that's what I've been able to understand. This journey continues. And since, next year I'll be 67. Okay. So biblically 70. So it's almost like this character going, we're reaching the gone phase, right? Huh? And Bhagawan has been my part of my life from when I was about 2 years old. So 65 years. So there's lots. This whole life has been a journey with him, experiencing him. There's every single miracle in Mahima we've experienced. I used to sometimes wonder why. And then I feel, because all these books had to be written, you see. And you can't write unless you've really experienced it. It has to be the truth from the heart. So maybe that's why. And it's all his, it's all him. Not this person in front of you, not this character. And so the journey goes on. We're all here now. Dr. Seshadri, Divya, she works in the hospital. Little grandson is here. And our son, he is more into music. He walks the path less traveled. And Swami's asked him to start a YouTube channel of music. And so that's what he does. And life goes on. Life goes on. So much to learn, just taking the first steps actually in this journey of Paravidya towards some kind of wisdom. We learn from all of you. We see the whole world coming here, and when we see the devotion of all the devotees from across the world who are supporting the mission, staying so far away, making such sacrifices, then we can see our own inadequacies. So we have a great debt of gratitude to all of you. So you're really supporting the mission. And when you see the patients who come into the hospital, they walk out so happy. It's all your support that's making it happen, you see. Because doctor's dime a dozen, he can get them. Whole thing has to happen, right? As Prasad said, you see that grand Rajeshwari building. You see Sarla Memorial, it's so beautiful. And the new hospital that's coming up. See? So it's simply wonderful, the work that is being done, the selfless contribution of all the devotees. Swami always makes it a point to remind us, look, they are my devotees. All of you may be near here, but dear ones are those. So we have to learn. We learn from each other. I guess that's it for today. If there's anything you want to ask.
Sure. Well, I'm Dr. Seshadri. I'm out of words. I don't know really what to say for listening to you. So much love, so much divinity, and all these wonderful experiences that we are getting many messages, dear sister, that they are so happy that you're here, you're talking to us, you're sharing with us, and of course, certainly I'm one of those. And before I forget, I would like to ask you, you promise us that you will accept our invitation, come back, and maybe even share some of the music with us. The more you talked about the music, the more you made us really interested in listening to this wonderful divine music. Dr. Seshadri, how do you go about the daily life? Are you in the ashram the
Yes, we
entire
stay
time?
in the ashram. We stay in the ashram.
But do you also go out in the city, village? And my question was that if you ever go out, how do you handle this divinity inside and the divinity outside in the form that is not necessarily the same? I mean, when we go to Bangalore, Chikbalapur, well, everybody is focusing on their business, and you don't hear the name of God all the time. And I'm just wondering, how do you handle
I guess
that?
that training Swami gave when we were in Chennai. You see,
Right.
Chennai is a bustling city where we had a practice, we had a hospital work. Once a month we would go for 3 days. As I said, once a month we'd go see God and come back into the world.
Right.
So I realized then that there's no separate God's work and our work. It's all the same. In Apollo Hospital, we used to get the fragrance of vibhuti. Others would smell, the usual Dettol, but we used to smell vibhuti, both my husband and I. And Swami would help us with those patients as well. His presence was there so much. He was there with us. It's not that only his hospitals are his. All hospitals are his. Everything is his. You see, I don't know if how we're doing for time. I think we're overshot. But there's so much that I can share with you regarding how Swami has helped us in the practice of medicine. You see, how the intuition, how when you're with Swami all the time, how can you be with Swami all the time? Think of him all the time.
Right.
I started off with, trying to, Charles Penn was my inspiration from the USA, you see. So at night I would sit up and try and imagine, okay, I've reached Puttaparthi, I'm going through the gate, I've reached Ganesha. At some point I knew that Swami was taking over, and then, all kinds of things would happen. Next morning at the dining table, I would tell my husband and children, Swami said this, and Swami took me here, and Swami took me there. And they would look at me like, Mama's going a bit soft in the head. Right? But my thing was, I was happy and I was not hurting anyone or harming anyone. So why not? But there was a niggling doubt, am I just going overboard with all this? And that's when the first book happened. And then I got a phone call from Professor Nanjun Rao. He was Professor Emeritus of Surgery. Great surgeon of Madras, great teacher, great devotee of Shirdi Baba and Sathya Sai Baba, and acknowledged by Bhagawan. He phoned me up and he said, Doctor, I hear you have written a book about Baba. You never told me. I said, sir, it just happened. And then he said, well, I have been told to purchase a copy and read it. I said, all right, sir. Then I couldn't resist. I said, sir, who told you? He said, well, the old man told me. Old man? I said, sir, who? He said, Shirdi Baba. I said,
Saira.
how was that? Then he said, well, every morning I get up and in my mind, I go to Puttaparthi, I fall at Swami's feet, take his blessings. Then I go to Shirdi and I fall at Baba's feet, and then we have a long chat. Then he told me, this Hiramalini has written a book, purchase a copy and read it. So, I mean, that was such a, unbelievable statement. But what he told me, was a big relief for me. It meant that, my nocturnal trips were also real. In which plane of reality, I did not know. But they, it wasn't just, poppycock. It was not that, you see. But then Swami put me out of that. And he said, Nana, it's only seva. Only 11 seva can get you near me. Not all this nocturnal trips with me. But then in the daytime, I said, no, I have to be with Swami. So daytime, whether I was driving, whether I was seeing a patient, whether I was shopping, whatever it was, Swami, there was a constant conversation with Swami. I made sure that he was my buddy all the time. So that, I think, in some way it sharpens intuition, you see. And with patients, there's a New England Journal of Medicine where they have those CPCs, very famous CPCs. We used to try having something like that in Apollo. And once a neurosurgeon referred a patient to me who was, they thought she had tuberculosis in the brain and couldn't sit, couldn't walk, was incontinent and everything. And even her husband, she had served them, the whole family, so much they wouldn't come near her. So furious with them. And Swami, from inside, he said, cerebral amoebiasis. Cerebral amoebiasis is a postmortem diagnosis. There are no cases in the world, hardly any, antemortem. But since I had to get her fit for surgery, and she did have amoebiasis in the intestines, I started her on that treatment. And all her neurological symptoms got better. So much so, the neurosurgeon said, no need of biopsy. Then we sent her back. But, in India, what happens is sometimes they continue the medicine, sometimes they stop it. And 2 months later, she again had some seizures and she was rushed back. This time, the neurosurgeon said, no, he's going to do a biopsy, brain biopsy. And it turned out to be cerebral amoebiasis. Again, back under medical management, and she did well. So it was one of the few antemortem cases, diagnosis. So this is just intuition, Swami's prompting from within. So I think if you have that yearning, I don't know what I did right, I don't know what I did wrong, but that yearning was there. And that helped. And sometimes he'll put words into your mouth. Once I was called at some 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. to see, it was my admission day. And there was this elderly gentleman with urinary infection who had gone gaga. So elderly people can go gaga, when they have these infections. So I started him on whatever. But I found myself saying he's very ill. He may not survive. I don't know why I said that. On my way back to the car, I was wondering, why did you say that? I mean, there's nothing to suggest that the prognosis was so grave. Around 3:34 a.m., there was a call that he had arrested. I went to the hospital and the relatives, they were like, you said, just like you said, So, I mean, if I had not said that and the patient dies in a few hours of admission in the ward, the doctor can be taken to task, right?
Right.
And how was I going to know that he was going to arrest? But Swami put those words into my mouth. So that time and again, these kind of things have happened. So definitely, it pays to make God your buddy in life. Because problems will come. This is Bhavasagara. But he'll get you across. See, and this is what I pray that all the students who join here, get to learn this, see.
Right.
Otherwise, this business of becoming a doctor can be dangerous. Doctors end up playing God, see.
Hiram, Auntie, I am already so jealous that those students can be trained under you and learn, both clinical and spiritual clinical aspects. Actually, you already answered some of my questions, but I was going to ask you, just like how the music flows through you, when you see patients every day, does it flow through you like that too? Do you feel that? I know special cases, you said you hear the diagnosis, but in your everyday clinic or life, do you feel that way, that it's happening automatically?
How this happens, I really do not know. But why I highlighted the music is that it clearly shows that it's Swami. Because when it's things like writing, you might think, oh, this person is English educated and has been writing for a long time, so maybe it's their natural talent, whatever. But music like this, the one person who will be able to relate to this is Brother Murli Bulaganti. Now, he is a great entrepreneur, right? But Swami made him compose Sai Rudram, which he himself says is quite beyond his skin, right? So likewise, this music that comes, at Music Academy, there were 4 Sangeeta Kalanidhis, and the Sangeeta Kalanidhi of the year said these kritis are like those of the Trinity. I said, sir, I'm not at all surprised, because there are Sai kritis. I'm nothing but a mic, nothing more than that. So it's, in other words, one can connect to that higher consciousness. How, I don't know. All I know is there's this great yearning, I didn't care if people call me crazy or what, you see. That yearning was there.
Right.
And then you're willing to, go where, others fear to tread.
Right. Dr. Seshadri, what is, I mean, somehow the music and divinity is always together, hand in hand. And I don't I don't understand the relationship, especially I grew up in a different country, different culture, where sometimes music is not appreciated. I personally always found music wonderful, and especially Indian music. My heart would always go for Indian music, sitar, and all this wonderful music. What is the relationship between music and divinity?
I think I'll just say, as Swami prompts from within, he says, see, first there was vibration, right? But the first thing was akasha in space, and the quality of space is vibration. Okay? Then came vayu, that is the quality of touch. And then came, how the 5 elements come. So if you have to program the earth to, to water, to fire, to air, to akasha, and then to the source, it's a long journey. But music takes you straight to vibration, to akasha. You see, so it's a shortcut. That is the way we see it. And in fact, all religions, even Islam, they have the chants, no? Like when they call the muezzin's call, he doesn't say, come everybody to pray. He sings it.
That is correct. That is correct.
Sings it. In every tradition, there is music.
Right.
So in that vibration, I think it's the akasha route is the shortest route back.
Oh.
Perhaps, I don't know. That's just what.
No, that is correct. You're absolutely right. There is this divinity that one cannot but experience when the music touches the heart, and it's fills you with that divine vibration.
In fact, I routinely tell all my patients, if they're Christian, I say go for the choir. If they're in the Hindu tradition, I say go for some bhajan. If they're Islamic tradition, I say chant the surahs. The surahs. You see? So music, because that way you can bypass a lot of the other steps in the shortcut.
I see. Dr. Seshadri, we are getting so many messages from people who love you. They say they are grateful that you're with us, and please forgive me for repeating myself, but the messages keep pouring in, and I have to also repeat my request that you have to come back, please, again. We don't seem
all up to Swami.
We pray to Swami.
We will pray to Swami to allow us more satsangs with you. Dr. Hiramalini, you hold a very special place in my heart, because you've always been a role model. In 1996, when I came to Puttaparthi, your book is the first book that I read. Before coming to Parthi, I had read Gita Vahini, and that's what connected me to, Swami's words. But all the time there was a doubt. And once I had read your book, then there was no doubt. It was truly God in our midst. And then not just God in our midst, we were in God, so many things you've said I can relate to through thousands of personal experiences, the intuition, how Swami will, if you're troubled by the thought that you're playing God, as an ICU doctor who has to disconnect the ventilator or, put people on heart-lung bypass or things, you're always concerned what is the right thing to do. But somehow Swami manifests. Somehow he just takes over, and there is no doctor and there is no patient. There is only love in action, and only the love remains. That's all. So this is so beautiful, so beautiful. I have no words to say, but thank you. What a wonderful gift, and anytime we can spend sitting in your presence would be so blessed. Whenever that happens.
Great. Dr. Seshadri, thank you so much, sister. We cannot really thank you enough. And I hope that we get a chance to benefit from your experiences, from your wisdom in the near future. So I will be, hopefully soon we pray to Swami to give us another opportunity to have you on this program. Thank you so much, and wishing you a wonderful day. Vivek, please.
Yes, thank you so much, sister. It was just absolutely wonderful. I also want to thank Brother Rajah and Sister Janet to work all the logistics for this webinar, but thank you so much for your time. Let us end with one Om and three Shantis. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I know everybody who's on this will love to meet you when they come to the ashram. So thank you so much, sister.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Seshadri. Sai Ram, and have a good day. Sai Ram.